Hello my dear friends, it's been a crazy 24 hours for Star Wars news. Not only has Star Wars Visions Volume 3 just been announced for a 2025 release, but we've just had the biggest information dump for Jude Nawood, Jude Law's character in Skeleton Crew, and he's not who you think. What if I told you that after the Acolyte, the next live-action Star Wars show was also going to be Sith-oriented? You're probably thinking, Meg, you're off your rocker. So what am I talking about? Well, the cast and crew have been doing press, interviews with the actors, interviews with the creators, the directors, and there has been a ton of new information. A look at behind the scenes on the show, and a couple more TV spots. But something that's blown me away is a new implication that's come about, that Jude Law's character isn't just morally complicated, he might be a Jedi who turned to the dark side. Not necessarily a full-on Sith, after the deaths of Palpatine and Vader, but perhaps someone who aspires to be. There were groups after Vader's death that sought to continue his legacy. Or he might be a former Inquisitor who survived Vader's wrath and went undercover, laid low, during and after the Empire. I'll explain why in just a moment, but Jude Law says what is revealed eventually in Skeleton Crew is his childhood, and why he might be Force sensitive. Are we getting more flashbacks to Order 66? We've been saying for some time, what kind of Jedi is Jude Nawood? My theory, as you guys know, has been that he was once a Jedi, he's a survivor of Order 66, and now he's a pirate. He's smuggling just to get by. He's in association with a wider pirates group. And so when these kids come along, carrying Old Republic credits from a wealthy, unknown world to the rest of the galaxy, he sees an opportunity for a payday, exploits their trust, and essentially uses them. Jude Law's been saying from day one, we can't trust this character. However, my dear friends, we've all been under the assumption that regardless, he is a Jedi, even one whose connection to the Force has weakened. Both John Watts and Chris Ford have said he's a different kind of Jedi. But what if the word Jedi is in fact a red herring and inappropriate? The only reason I say this is a brand new TV spot has thrown all of our assumptions into question. When Fern asks him, "You are a Jedi, right?" he deceptively smirks and says, "Of course." In a different part of the teaser, he says, "You can trust me, you know," but I don't think he's talking to the children. In that specific scene, I think he's working with his confidants, probably some other smugglers and pirates. But this has really thrown me for a loop, because if he's not using the word, there are two possibilities. Either he's faking the authority of being a Jedi to gain the trust of the kids, because he knows they're nostalgic about them, and you know, maybe he's using tricks and deception, or Jude Law is a dark side user. And before we poo-poo this idea, yesterday in a brand new interview, Jude was asked, "Are you a Sith?" And his response is absolutely baffling. He didn't even deny it. He said this, "It's really complicated. I can't answer it directly. I'm going to have to do a duck and dive and dodge and weave. He's many things to many people. I'll say he's a survivor, and it's complicated." The credit for this goes to Inverse, Days Johnson, who posted an article called "Jude Law might have confirmed my weird Skeleton Crew theory." The article says, "My theory starts with one simple question. Why would a Jedi not be referred to by that term? Skeleton Crew is set in the New Republic, an era that was ushered in by Jedi, so there wouldn't be a need to hide, like during the time of the Empire. He could have had a crisis of faith and rejected the Jedi path. And so the theory is this, was he once a Jedi, and it's a half-truth, and now, just like Balin, he's seeking a different way, but instead of trying to find an alternate route, has he gone full-on dark side? Or, even stranger, is he a former dark side user, now navigating the galaxy on his own? Maybe a former Remnant mercenary, a former Inquisitor, a Sith believer or cultist, or something different. But in relation to the Sith theory, it centers around a major reveal we spoke about just a few weeks ago, a publicity still of Jude Nawood pointing at the ruins of a temple with Ur-Kitat, the runic language of the Sith, inscribed on the front of it. Sith runes were made illegal to translate during the Age of the Republic. If Jude is able to translate them, that brings up a lot of questions about his true intentions. It's also worth pointing out, my dear friends, on StarWars.com, in a brand new article about Jude's character, Jude said this, "Conflicted is certainly a word I'd use to describe Jude. He's ultimately a survivor, but we've all assumed it's a Jedi survivor. What if it's something else? Then Inverse bring up the photo, and he giggles and says, someone knows their stuff, but he still wouldn't confirm it. This brings up a whole new dynamic, a whole new way of seeing this character, who the kids are supposed to trust. Did he lose his faith in the Jedi? If he's now a dark side user? I really don't know how to take this, but something that was once a ludicrous, far-fetched theory could now be a real possibility, my dear friends. And here's another revealing tidbit. He uses the alias Crimson Jack, who is already an existing character from the expanded universe, but is also a pirate further down the timeline in canon in the Halcyon Legacy comics. This could be similar to the way Ezra Bridger uses the alias Jabba the Hutt, but because Crimson Jack exists after Jod Nawood, Jod's use of the moniker might be what inspires the pirate further down the timeline. In other Skeleton Crew news, during the creator roundtable with John Watts, Chris Ford, Bryce Dallas Howard and a couple of others, Chris Ford reveals Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau were always just a phone call away, and one specific detail that Dave Filoni accepted were bike tassels in the scenes where the kids are riding their bikes on their homeworld of Tatooine. Chris asked Dave, do bike tassels exist in Star Wars? To which Dave replied, they do now. So the two creators of the Mandoverse were involved every step of the way. I think that's going to be really important, but I think the show's in good hands. We've also now got the full list of directors, by the way. The showrunner John Watts directed the first and final episodes, episodes 1 and 8. David Lowery directed episodes 2 and 3. The Daniels directed episode 4. Jake Schreier directed episode 5. Bryce Dallas Howard, definitely one to watch given a track record in Mando, directed episode 6. And Lee Isaac Chung, who also worked on The Mandalorian's 3rd season, directed episode 7. It really is a fantastic lineup. Another very big reveal, guys, is John Watts addressed how the show connects to Mando. We know some of the pirates are the same, but he also emphasizes this is very much a standalone project. Here's the quote, but there are connections there, and for us, it felt really natural. We were looking for a part in the whole Star Wars timeline when even kids could go get lost in the galaxy. And then he contrasts this time period of the New Republic to back during the High Republic. He says during the High Republic, like in the Acolyte, you're going to get scooped up by some hero Jedi in about 5 minutes flat. But now they're dealing with a time period that is a bit more chaotic. The New Republic exists, but they're not necessarily all powerful. So there's room for danger, pirates, and the likes of Jod Nawood. So we're really in for something different. But what do you guys think? Share your thoughts on all of the new reveals in the comments down below. What do you think about the theory that Jod might be a Sith, a dark side user, a former Inquisitor, and when he says we're going to see his childhood, what could some of those flashbacks reveal? Who was his master, if he was a former Jedi?